Hello and welcome to our panel discussion on social innovation, thinking local or thinking global. So today we talk about social innovation, and I'm Karolin. I'm with Berlin Partner, the business development agency of Berlin, where I'm responsible for all startup activities. So when we talk about social innovation, one of the first questions is, what is actually social innovation? These are initiatives, business models, projects, processes that bring along and have as a core purpose a positive change in society. And I think when you think about social innovation, one of the first things that pop up your mind is the term impact or the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And especially the SDGs, with its very concrete impact-related goals, have given social innovation a much more official and global importance and visibility in the last years. And in recent times, we have experienced social innovation as a major factor mitigating negative effects of a worldwide pandemic. And that's why today we talk about social innovation, and we take this topic from two different angles. We have on the one side the startup perspective, and on the other side a corporate perspective. And lucky me, I have the perfect panelist for that sitting here next to me. And from the startup side, I would like to welcome Sabrina Konzok. She's a member of ZENT, the Social Entrepreneurship Network Germany, and she works at Quynh, a social business itself. Hello, Sabrina.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. And virtually, we would also like to welcome Sharath Loganathan. He is the co-founder of Ninjacart, a solution that brings together farmers and retailers in India for fresh food delivery. Hi, Sharath. Hi to India. Hello.
Namaste. Namaste.
And for the corporate side, we have invited here today Vajda. She is a partner at your local company, a company that supports international companies to expand and to grow in Germany. Hi, Anetta.
Hi. So I like to correct you. This is your German company, not local company.
Oh,
but
sorry.
You're absolutely right. So we bring international businesses and individuals here to Germany. We ease their process to set up a company, operate, and grow here in Germany.
Okay. Happy to have you on board here.
Thank you.
And last but definitely not least, I would like to welcome Quynh, alias Ann. She is a content operation advisor and recently worked for Alibaba and TikTok. Welcome, Ann.
Thanks. Happy to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Awesome. And I would like to kick off this panel discussion today, going from a local level afterwards to a more global level. And that's why I would like to ask my first questions to Sharath. Sharath, you have started and built a huge local community in India. What is your experience with social innovation? How did you build this local community?
So, majorly, I'll just, before explaining what we have done in innovation at the social front, I think I would like to explain a little bit about our business model. Okay, so India is a country where the supply chain of fresh produce is broken a lot. Okay, and basically there's marginal farmers, and there is at least 7 to 8 middlemen before which it reaches to the market, and after that it gets to a local business and then to the end consumer. Okay. So that's where the problem is. Basically, at the demand front, we're actually impacting the lives of small retailers. These are small general trade shops, kirana shops, provision stores who sell vegetables on the street, right? These are my customers. And these guys have a huge problem going to the market early in the morning, say about 3 o'clock, get all the produce, bring it back, set up the shop, work till late in the night, and again go back. So it becomes a very good value prop for them if fresh produce reaches their doorstep at the right time. It improves the quality of life. At the other end, in terms of farmers, eventually because of a lot of middlemen existing in the existing channels, and not having a lot of good platforms in which they'll be able to earn more through the same produce that they're producing, because of which it creates a lot of impact at the farmer's end. So at one end, we are actually impacting the retailers. Okay, that's our business. But that is through because we have developed a strong network of farmers who are loyal to us and who consistently supply fresh produce to Ninjacart. Now, this is not, it doesn't happen in day one. So basically, the first, in terms of rural areas of India, they just will not trust if any outsider comes and tells you to, give their vegetables because it's their bread and butter. So initially, we had a huge operation, or let's say we had a lot of resistance from the farmers giving it to us, but then we had built a small local team which went and started talking to farmers. We started campaigning to, it's a simple small campaigning in where we told how does the economics work. So we did not go about what great company we are. We didn't do anything apart from just tell them in pure economic sense, how does it make sense for them to supply to Ninjacart? And there were few initial people who started working with us, and then they started referring other farmers who could work with us. So that is how we started working with farmers. But then eventually it is not the farmers alone that we are impacting. Once we started procuring from these remote areas, eventually it created job opportunities for blue collar workers who needed in those facilities to kind of sort and grade. And it also impacted when we knew there are a lot of women who could also be used. So in few of our facilities, women come and they also work. So it's created job opportunities for women. Apart from that, the local area. So even if my facility is in a remote area, still the item has to come from the farm till my facility, which is about say 10, 20 kilometers, where the infrastructure is really bad. In that sense, even that local area, we could tie up with the local truck drivers and entrepreneurs who could give this sources for us. So basically, we created a small economy within that remote area, and from there we were consistently taking the produce. And as the scale grew up, we could largely impact the lives of the farmers. And over a period of 1.5 to 2 years, we have seen that we have increased their income to about 18% of income compared to if they had gone to the traditional market. So this has been quite a long journey of the past 5 years. And right now we operate in about, say, 80 cities. And we also procure from about 600 of villages, because as per the season, as per the various produce and the growth patterns, we procure items from across the country. And that's how we've been able to slowly scale up and build. But the scale which was brought is only through tech. So once we could build a technology in which we can handle the inventory at real time, because the funniest part is that in India, it's a tropical climate, plus we do not have a cold storage, or we don't have neighborhood stores having refrigerated stores in which they can supply vegetables. So the challenge is for me to move the inventory as fast as possible to the end customer, because I cannot use cold chain. Once I start using cold chain, I will not be able to, he will not be able to make this, because it deteriorates faster. So with technology, once we started working with a lot of people, we could build small clusters of remote areas in which the social innovation could actually help us build a community. And right now we are starting to work with them much closer, working on the data that we have and suggesting them what to harvest or what to sow, so that they can actually make more money.
For how many years have you been doing this now?
So we started in 2015, so 5 years.
5 years, yeah. It looks like a long journey, and a tough one, actually. Thank you very much for the insights now in the startup scene, social startup scene in India. I would like to switch now and look at the social entrepreneurship scene in Germany. And for that, I would like to ask you, Sabrina, because I know you have been very active in the past and nowadays when it comes to social entrepreneurship in Germany, and especially here in Berlin. In your opinion, what is the major success factor, or on the other hand, the major obstacles in order to implement successfully social innovation here in Germany?
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful question. And I think we just saw a perfect example of what social entrepreneurship is and what we also try to connect here and build up in Germany, right? So what's the key difference for those who don't know actually what's the difference between a social entrepreneur and an entrepreneur? So the key difference is that the people found a company and are entrepreneurs because they put societal challenges at the core of their business. So you don't found in order to make profits. Obviously, that's part of what you do, but at the core is always solving a societal challenge. And I think that's what you have just shown as well, right? And that's what also fuels a community and what makes it successful, because you don't just create another app that nobody needs, like in worst case, you create something that is really rooted in everyday life of the people. And that's what we do in Germany. So we're a rather young network. We were just founded a few years ago, but now we have like over 400 members all over Germany, and obviously most of them come from Berlin. And what makes Berlin so special is that you really have a long history of the city that is kind of also obviously rooted deeply in the challenges that city also had, with like the wall and the separation and everything attached to that history. So it's a very nice testing ground as well in order to try out new business models, because you don't only have like a very good talent pool, like obviously from the tech scene, but also in general, like very like highly skilled people, no matter young or old, but you also have a society in the city, so citizens that are very willing to see new business models, to see new products, and to test that out. And I mean, in the end, that's what you need, I would say, for social innovation, right? You need that space where you can grow and test your ideas. And if you fail, then you fail. But if you manage, then you can actually scale from there. So we also see a lot of companies that have started in Berlin to really expand not only in Germany, but globally. And how to connect it, like coming back to your question a bit, it's I think we need better bridges, right? So because what we always say, like we're a bubble still of social entrepreneurs in Germany, and most people, if they hear it, they rather think of CSR or they think of an NGO. However, like that's somehow at the sidelines of both ends of the spectrum, but social entrepreneurs are right in the middle of that. So it's a new generation, you could say, of founders and of entrepreneurs that try things differently and also want to bridge a bit towards academia, to bridge towards corporates, and to simply develop all kinds of new ideas that are valuable to all kinds of sectors.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, taking the look at the corporate innovation scene. Dear Anne, I know you have been working with many corporates, recently a lot of them from China, and I always have the feeling that in recent years, social innovation becomes much and more important for bigger corporates to get involved into. From your perspective, do you think it's a key success factor for corporates on an economic side to incorporate social innovation in their portfolio?
Yes, absolutely. So when you look from the perspective of, how long you want to sustain your company, and at Alibaba, what I learned, for example, one of our company missions was to sustain the company for 102 years. So looking ahead for 100 years, where you want to be and what's necessary to be there still 100 years, not only economically sustainable, but also relevant to your customers, I do think it's absolutely necessary to drive social innovation. For one reason, I already said, economically sustainable, everything will be more connected, everyone will be facing the same issues, climate change, whatever, so even corporates cannot just escape from it. So we have to come up with solutions for it. On the second part is, as I said, be relevant to your customers, right? Who are our customers? The customers in 102 years are the next generations. And we already see now that among the, how we call it, or how also TikTok call it, Gen Z, right? We see already the awareness is really big. We see movements of youth. Greta Thunberg is like the perfect example for it. Friday for Futures. I've met like really young social change makers, let's say. They're not here yet to drive innovation. They're still there to raise awareness around that problem, but they're the one who will be our future consumers. And if you want to be really relevant for them, regardless in which industry you're working at, then yes. On the other hand is on the policy, it's definitely valuable to think about it, because you look at the funding schemes across Europe, across the world, and you will see that a lot of money right now also goes into, to foster, tackling the challenges of the SDGs. And I think if you think of just short-term money gaining or getting the fundings, you already have to move along the funding schemes.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to add that.
Please go ahead.
That's right. For many years, that's the goal for all large corporates, and maybe the mid-sized companies are getting there slowly. But definitely, the business challenge is there that there are stakeholders and shareholders who are demanding for growth, for example. On the other hand, there are the workers, the employees, who are demanding having value and purpose in their job. So, and we have the climate change as well. Definitely, corporates need to do some things about this and needs to be involved in social innovation, because without new business models and new way of thinking, that's not going to be possible to have long-term growth. Absolutely.
I think the two of you already mentioned it, that social innovation becomes much more important for corporates. And I would like to know, do you see a difference in the development? Because in the past, we always had like a little bit of a mix-up between CSR and social innovation as a real business model and as a core value of the company. Do you think that this development changes in bigger corporates?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a long, long time, I think anything touching social challenges or social innovation was regarding as something voluntarily based, based on donations. And I think slowly but slowly we move away from it's just a donation-based case, right? It's also something we have to incorporate into our business modelings for corporates. It might be a little bit slower in Asia, but I think they will get there very quickly. And on the other hand, you also see the increase of like building entrepreneurs within the company, and most of the entrepreneurs already go into trying to solve problems and tackling complex challenges with that in mind. I think as a company, as a corporate, you just need to ensure to really build the right infrastructures to leave space as much as you want to drive innovation overall, and you need to leave space to build up and develop entrepreneurs, to allow innovation, to allow experimentation, as well as you need to give them space and your employees to also go out and try tackling social problems.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to add that again, that CSR is already existing in the corporate scene, right? So for so many years, but that the impact is mainly on a local level, strengthening the local ecosystem, and the goals, the sustainable goals, are more like strategic, I have to say, and that requires very strong business relationships and partnerships to build up. And towards the goal with regard to a strong brand value, business growth, innovation, which our large corporates are tackling and going for, that's the difference.
So do you think social innovation should be addressed locally or should be thought globally from the start? What is your experience with your clients there?
Okay, it's very interesting. Like coming from large corporate, right? That's been always decided by the management level headquarter, and that is globally. When it comes to small and medium-sized companies, that's something different. There are like small companies who are having these basic policies already set from the very beginning. The mid-sized companies, they are still struggling to implement these because that time when they were funded, that wasn't really the main focus to have the sustainability goals in place. But I see definitely an increase in the statistics. And also, if we can just talk about ourselves, last year we funded more than 250 companies, and actually in Germany only, which means that indirectly we also supported these innovation and social value, because these businesses created a lot of workforce, they created jobs, they created new products, services, and therefore they pay taxes, they invest in business here. So this is also a social impact which needs to be considered on a smaller scale.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Sabrina,
I'd
back to
like
you.
to
I would
add,
like to... Oh, I'm sorry. Sharath,
Yeah, sure.
please go ahead, ask a question or add something.
Yeah, no, I was not asking, I was just trying to add on to what they have been telling. So basically, Ninjacart is not actually started with an idea to be a socially innovative business. Okay, it is not social entrepreneurship. It's basically we are a strong B2B supply chain company. We are a business to business, fresh produce supply chain company. But then, for me to operate this business, there are a lot of things that have to do at the ground level, which has its own ripple effect, and which is creating, which is actually pushing me to do those things. Okay. And that is also giving some results on the ground. Okay. And so basically, I would say that for us as a supply chain company, it makes a lot of sense for me to create some values on the ground, because that is going to be helpful for the business, that by creating that impact at both ends. And that's why you said, right? So by the very nature of our business, because I operate in remote areas and also operate with different sects of people, which needs this workforce is needed, and we have to empower them in terms of, for as simple as our whole supply chain is a paperless supply chain. We don't even use one single paper for a whole transaction a day. Mm-hmm. Now, for doing that, I need to empower my executive, or let's say my base level guy working on the ground, right? Mm-hmm. And that has constantly improved the employability of that person. It improves his employability when he wants to go out, or say it has improved the quality of people who are working in our company, right? And that has also, there's a lot of social impacts that we do. But as such, at least as Ninjacart is concerned, we are a supply chain company, but because of the nature of our business, it has created a lot of positive impacts in the social sectors that we have been, operating around.
And what do you think? Is it easy to replicate your model globally? Is it the Indian market that specific that you cannot replicate it? Or do you think it's easy to take a local innovation to a global level?
Definitely, I think if we have conquered this beast of handling fresh produce and taking it within 12 hours from farmer to a customer who's like about 300 kilometers away in 12 hours, and with a minimum loss of say about 4% of transit or any type of wastage, right? That compared to a traditional market, the wastage is about 25 to 30%, right? So if I have conquered the beast in India, I think definitely this is something which will be applicable in the whole belt, in which in Asia, on places where this concept of no refrigerations at the retail end is not there, right? It can be definitely replicated there. And if I have worked here, definitely in other countries, in little bit developed countries, I think which people can actually much more do it in much better way, because there the infra and the problem that I'm going to face is much lesser than what I face in the Indian market.
Sure. And what about Germany, Sabrina? Do you think the German social entrepreneurship scene is quite similar to the international one, or do you say, no, they're totally different, it's hard to take local German innovation to a global level?
Well, it's a really interesting question, and that's why I like the title from that session so much. I would actually argue there isn't such a thing anymore like local and global, because those borders, like literally borders or borders in our heads or however you want to understand it, like they're getting very blurry, right? So what we also notice with digitalization and everything else happening is that no matter how different we are, like the challenges we will face in the next 100 years or even in the next 10 years are rather similar. So innovations taking place in Berlin or being established in Berlin, I would actually argue, like are even thought globally sometimes, right? I mean, always you have to start somewhere, so I think it's just in the origin of building a startup that you start small somehow and you need a local reference point and a pilot group and whatever to build your prototype. But as it's just standing next to us, it's a nice example without doing advertisement. But Viva Con Agua, for example, is also someone who is using money from all different kinds of sources in order to then tackle the access to water in developing countries, right? So they built, for example, in Nepal, they built ponds, however you call it, and everything else in Burkina Faso and anywhere else as well. And one of our members, Soul Bottles, they build or they sell glass bottles, which is, you could say, a very simple product. But out of their profits, they have now reached 1 million of donations that they then channel to Viva Con Agua. So it's a very nice business model with like reducing the waste from the people only just buying the bottles, like the glass bottles. So I would save all the other reusable bottles that would otherwise be disposed. But also with buying it, I then enable another organization to do something abroad. So I think that difference between local and global is getting more and more blurry, and that's a nice thing because it makes innovations also more transferable.
True. However, innovation always starts at some point locally, and that's when corporates are coming to play because they have significant role in triggering social innovation, because they operate at scale, they have resources, therefore they can support social entrepreneurship, social innovation for smaller companies. But definitely it's a play. And also the strategic relationships, what matters on a global scale.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both sides. Actually, I do think there's a slight difference between, you know, what kind of product and services you're offering. You might offer solutions on a local level, but you source the components somewhere else. Starting with, we see now e-bikes, we see e-vehicles everywhere. These products are not manufactured here. The components are not coming and sourcing from here. So it's not even responsibility for startups who are now tackling these kind of challenges. They might be more flexible because they're starting from the very beginning, so they can set up everything in a, let's say, right way or in a better way than corporates. Corporates just need more time to adapt to the changes right now. But we do know, as much as you know, the digital world is connecting everything, our supply chain is completely connected with everywhere around the world, and this makes especially corporates responsible for you know, think globally but acting locally, and also sometimes act on a regional base, and also see how to work with local communities, how to give back something on a local base. And it's also it's their responsibility to also communicate it in a very transparent way, how they're handling it, why they're handling it, so it's also more tangible to the end consumers. Because sometimes what corporates forget is that they think it's not worth it to go this way because people wouldn't maybe pay a higher price or whatever, but I think people will always go for a higher price if they do understand the processes behind it.
So I would like to ask one last question to each and every one of you, and that is, what is your vision for social innovation? Where do you want social innovation to be in about 10 years' time? Anne, you want to start with it?
Yeah, I hope that in 10 years we don't have any argumentations and discussions about whether or not it's necessary. I do think, as I mentioned already, the next generation is there. They will change everything. I do hope that by that time, policymakers start to set up the right frameworks for companies, corporates, academia, startups to act, that financial structures are in a better place, that corporates and startups find a way to collaborate with each other in a better way, and that also on a corporate level, different corporates come together with initiatives to also agree on how to also measure social impact, right? It's a big topic which is still kind of unsolved.
Anetta, what's your vision?
Absolutely, 100% agree. Also, very important to build ecosystem, a strong ecosystem, not only on local level, regional level, but national level as well, also globally. Super important. We have such great connectors on the market, like W-Launch, who is building bridges and closing the gap between countries, between continents. And we take this collaboration and strategic relationships to corporates, to the table for everyone, from policymakers to the private sector, and just initiate discussions on this. It's absolutely important. So in 10 years, definitely a strong ecosystem with ecosystem players. It's a must-have. And yeah, circular economy, as Anne said.
Thank you, Anetta. Sabrina, what's yours?
Well, I don't know, for those who are from Berlin or from Germany at least, you must have seen the first ever actually German Startup Awards that I think happened this year or last year. At least people were still allowed to meet in larger crowds. So there we had a section for social entrepreneurs and obviously for normal startups, traditional startups. And the one who won in the section for social entrepreneurship, Ecosia, like the founder from right now, I think, Europe's largest search engine, if I'm not mistaken. His wish was actually very close to mine, and I want to take it on. So his wish was, in the future, he doesn't want to see those categories anymore. He wants to have all the nominees being social entrepreneurs. And I think, like, as bad as Corona is, it has also become more likely to see that, and maybe even the sooner future, because when we will have the new normal, I think we also need the new business.
Thank you. Sharath, I would like to ask you for a last statement. What is your vision? Where do you want to be with social innovation in 10 years?
So, I would rather answer it like, what is the vision for our firm and what it might conclude. So basically, a lot of disruptions that we are doing is actually kind of offsetting few people from the existing ecosystem. So, as we scale, I would want to see that even they start becoming part of our system, where where that will be like, initially I'm growing the market, and they also see the disruption, but then see the value in it and start getting into our system and also reap the benefits of being into my system. And we being a fresh business in India's $224 billion business, right? It's pan India, and we're not even scratched the ice there, right? So in that being said, in 10 years, if we are able to create such a large, a solid supply chain, which will be by itself will create a lot of smaller economies wherever it is operating, okay? And that will be, that itself will have such a large impact that I think it's going to be great to even see it.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharath. And it's really fun discussing with you this topic. So but unfortunately we have run out of time. So I would like to say thank you to all the panelists, also to India, Sharath. Thank you so much for joining the panel and for sharing your insights. And I wish everyone else now a lot of fun with the further AsiaBerlin program. Bye-bye.